Hello everyone. Today we'll be learning about the HL triangle congruence theorem. And this is just another theorem that we can use to prove that two triangles are congruent. So the hypotenuse leg, or HL for short, congruence theorem states that if the hypotenuse and leg of a right triangle are congruent, then the two triangles are congruent. So we see that here, that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle F, because that's also the right angle, ED. And I know this because first, they are both right triangles. This is super important. This only applies to right triangles that we are trying to prove are congruent. But they are both right triangles. And I see that the hypotenuse is congruent. And so if you recall, the hypotenuse is just that side that's opposite of the right angle. So that's the hypotenuse. And we see that one of the legs is congruent. So both of these sides are technically a leg. This one just happens to have that EF is the one that is congruent to AB. So since I have one leg congruent, I have the hypotenuse congruent, this is a right triangle, these two triangles are congruent. So let's kind of apply this theorem. So determine if we can use the HL congruence theorem to prove the triangles are congruent. If not, tell us what you need to know. So first I have two triangles here. My first thing is to check that they're a right triangle. I see that they're a right triangle because I have this right angle here, and we can already assume that this angle to the right is also a right angle. Now I need that a hypotenuse is congruent and a leg is congruent. Well, I first off see that I do have the hypotenuse congruent because that's this side opposite of the right angle, so I'm good there. Now I need to see if there's a leg congruent. I don't have anything marked in this to show me. However, I see that both of these triangles share this same side right here. And so I also have a leg congruent. So that means for this one, the answer is yes. Okay, so this one we're looking to see if these two triangles are congruent on either side of this rectangle. So I need to first see, do I have a hypotenuse and do I have a leg? Well, first I do see that I do have right triangles because they both have that right angle. I see I have these two sides that are congruent, and since it's not opposite of the right angle, that's a leg. So I do have a leg congruent. But now I need to see, do I have the hypotenuse congruent? Well, the hypotenuse is the side opposite of this right angle. And I don't have marked in this diagram that those sides are congruent. And there's no way that I can assume they're congruent. I know looking at the picture, it looks like they are, but I can't assume that. So I do not have that information. So that means this answer is no. And the reason is I need to know if the hypotenuses are congruent. Okay, so now looking at number 3, I again need to see whether I have a hypotenuse and a leg congruent. I see that I have two right triangles because they have that right angle. I see that it's given to me that AC is congruent to DR. And looking at that, I know that's like my hypotenuse because it is opposite of my right angle. So I have an hypotenuse congruent. Now I need to know if a leg is congruent. Well, again, similar to number 1, both of these triangles share the same side of CR. And we know by the reflexive property that CR is congruent to CR. So that means I do have a congruent leg. And so since I have two right triangles, I have hypotenuse congruent, I have a leg congruent, by the HL congruence theorem, that means that these two triangles are indeed congruent.